Hello everyone, my name is Lewis and this is Work for Growth. In today's video, we're going to be talking about building a deadlift platform. I'm going to take you through step by step, everything you're going to need to know to build your own. And if you like what you see here, please like and subscribe. I would appreciate it very much. Now, let's get into it. In order to complete this build, you're going to need a few things. The first thing you're going to need is a measuring tape, one piece of 4x8 3/4 inch plywood, rough on both sides, one piece of 3/4 inch 4x4 plywood, smooth on one side, one piece of 3/4 inch 4x4 horse stall mat, PL Premium x8, and a caulking gun, a straight edge, spray paint in the color of your choice, 1 1/4 wood screws, and 3/16 fender washers, a silver Sharpie and a pencil, a drill with a bit for pilot holes and a bit for screwing, a utility knife, a wood stain, and a lacquer. Now that we have everything, let's get into it. For the first step in building our platform, we're going to measure out 24 inches and draw a line on both sides, because if I cut my 4x4 sheet slightly too short by 1/8 of an inch or whatever, just from the width of the skill saw blade, I want to be able to split that difference rather than just marking on one side, lining it up that side, and then I'm out 1/8 of an inch. I know it's not much, but whatever. I'll just use it and split the difference. So, draw out my first line, 24 on this side. And then I'll do the same on the other side. I have my ruler. Drawing with pencil is a little bit harder to see, but I don't know why, I just prefer it. In this situation, it's going to be covered, but so it doesn't matter if I use a pen or whatever, but regardless, I still like to use pencil. Mark it at 24 and 24. Lined up. As you can see, it's painted around the outside. So before putting these lines down, I painted it in red because all my equipment is going to be red and my decal is going to be red. So I wanted it to match. So I figured if I paint the edges, it's the only part you're going to see when I put my horse stalls on, mats on, and my 3/4 inch plywood up down on it. So that way it gives it more of a finished look. Okay, so our next step is to take our 4x4 piece of plywood and put it and dry fit it onto our 4x8 sheet. Now the reason I'm dry fitting it is that I don't want to just put PL on this thing, throw it down, it'd be crooked, now I'm screwed. So basically I'll dry fit it, see how it lines up, and go from there. So let's see how it lines up. So I'm lining up this edge to my line. Looks good. This side. Now it just wiggles around a little bit, so just play with it until it looks right. Okay. So I can see that I'm flush here and I'm short there, which leads me to believe that, yeah, okay, this is my cut side that I did with my skill saw. So I did end up cutting this short, which is a good reason why I put my lines on both sides, because I want to be able to split that difference. I can't put it on this way because I'm short on one edge. It just looks ridiculous. So what I'll do is turn it over. It's not the end of the world. This is why I suggest getting Home Depot or Rona to do the cut for you. They're going to do it with this table saw and get it bang on. So I'll take my time and get my edges lined up again. So I'm tight here, and here I look like I'm about 1/4 inch short. So now I could use my line to split that into 1/8 of an inch short on either side. So you can see my 1/8 here. see my edges are lined up. So to me that looks pretty good. Okay, for the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread my PL all over one side, the base. Spread it all over, put our 4x4 piece on top of it. I do have time to mess with it. It's not going to stick just like that. Get it all lined up. Already made sure dry fit, I'm happy. The product I'm using is a LePage PL x8. It's this stuff is no joke. It will hold on forever. I'm still going to screw it down because I'm going to be doing heavy lifts on this and a lot of movement, a lot of slamming. So I'm still going to screw it, but I wanted to go with something that was very, very powerful. So here we go. I'm going to apply it to this base. Now, I haven't used this stuff too much, so I'm not gonna be shy with the use of it, but I'm also not gonna put it on so thick it's like syrup. Then when I put my board down, all these lines will smush out just like doing tile. If I don't put enough glue down, it's not the end of the world either. This is kind of just like an added benefit to screwing it, right? Now, I've seen in other videos they used wood glue, and I gotta think that this is much stronger than just a wood glue. Now, after this is all set down, it's gonna take about a 24-hour curing period, and I'm gonna use every bit of that 24 hours. I'm not gonna do anything early. Probably just put the wood on it, leave it alone, don't do any of the next steps. Make sure I'm happy before touching it again. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. That's fairly covered. So let's put our side that we chose as our better side facing up. Let's not mess that up. Pretty silly. Sure, yeah, this is the bad side. So remember, you have time here. It's not. I'm not going to put this down and be like, okay, that's where it goes. I definitely have time to line this up. Yep, here's my steel side, so I know that I didn't turn it. Slowly let it down. Now, I already know that I'm going to be splitting an 1/8 of an inch, so all I have to do is worry about one side. I will double check it, but once I'm happy working from this side and seeing that I got my 1/8 of an inch, I know my other side's good. That looks pretty good. Yeah, that's nice and flush. That side's nice and flush. That looks like an 1/8 of an inch to me. And this side looks good. So now I would suggest that if you have a way to clamp this, clamp it. But I don't. So what I'm gonna do is take some old weights, put it on top of here, let it sit for 24 hours, and call it good. So for cutting this horse stall mat, I suggest using a good utility knife. Now this one's not the best, but it does have a brand new blade. And I wanted to make sure that the blade was nice and sharp because this is 3/4 of an inch. It is durable, super durable. So because you can't see my pencil on this black horse mat, I'm using a silver Sharpie. So I'll take my measuring tape, make sure that this is my 4-foot width, which it is, and measure this out to 2 1/8, just like I was saying before. So 2 1/8 right there, 2 1/8 right here. I got a 4-foot steel ruler. which is perfect. Line up my silver lines. And I'll have to do this twice because I need a mat for each side, obviously. But once it's done, it's done. There you go. Now I'll just double check the center of my line. Yep, I'm happy with that. So this stuff is pretty hard to cut through. It's not, it just doesn't feel like there's just rubber in there. It's almost like, I don't want to say a gravel, I don't know what it's made from, but I can feel it in the knife that it's not just simply rubber. No, don't quote me on that, I might be wrong, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do numerous shortcuts rather than going through the whole thing all at once. And I'd suggest not scoring it down and then breaking it off. I want a clean edge. My blade is long enough to do that, so I want to cut nearly the whole way through. Pretty close, if not the whole way through. So what I'll do is I'll just constantly score over the same line and try to be as accurate as possible. Now it's going to take some time, especially since you have to do 2 mats, but it'll be worth it. And don't be concerned with this silver magic marker. If it doesn't come off, just flip the mat over. It doesn't matter what size you're using. And then eventually, as you make these cuts, you will work your way through. See? Nearly there. So it wasn't so bad, but it's definitely very strong material. So tomorrow we'll go on to the next step, and that's just finishing touches on the decals. So we're back, and it's the next day. Removed all the weight, and now we're gonna get into screwing everything together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put screws in all 4 of these corners. Then I'm going to put a screw in the halfway point between that, the halfway point between that, and then another half. So I am going to be putting a lot of screws in this thing. I want it to hold up for a long time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark those all out with my pencil, and then I'm going to use a pilot bit to drill the holes because I don't want anything to split. Then I'll send the screw through. Now for the rubber, I'm using these 3/16 spinner washers because if you don't, you're going to drill the screw right through the rubber and it's not going to hold at all. So. So after getting everything all screwed down, now you want to cover up your edges and all the way around because you will be spray painting this, or however you're going to put your design on there. Now I have this 2-inch painter's tape, and I'm going to cover this entire thing completely, as well as this brown packing paper that I had kicking around because I run a small eBay business as well. So I'll take the tape and I'll tape down my edges so these don't move around, and then I'll cover the entire thing. And now I'll just snap my fingers. Great. So we're on to the section where we're going to put our design down, and honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I have an idea of what I'm going to do, but I have no idea how it's going to come out. I picked up these wooden letters from the dollar store. It's every letter in the alphabet. And basically, I'm going to try to lay this down as symmetrical as I'm happy with. I'm not creative whatsoever, but it's the best thing I can come up with. But I'm going to spell my channel name across this and mark it out with a pencil, then cut it out with a razor knife, and then spray paint after it's all cut out. I can honestly say that was the best stenciling job I've ever done. It was also the first one that I've ever done. It was pretty painstaking, and in hindsight, I'd probably use squared bubble letters instead of rounded ones, because it was hard to get in there with the utility knife. But if you're more creative and artistic than me, you're not going to have a problem with this section. But for the next part, I have some red trim pad that I painted my edges with. It's going to match the same color. And I'm going to paint these letters that I sketched out, probably 2 coats, maybe 3. I'll do 3 just to be safe. And just one last snap, easy. So it's the next day and the spray paint is dry. My next step is to apply the stain, and I picked a golden pecan. So I didn't want to go too dark and I didn't want to go too light. This is somewhere in the middle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply 2 coats and have 6 hours of curing time or drying time in between there. Finished our 2 coats of stain, and now it's time for our last step, which is to apply this clear lacquer. It says to apply 3 coats and let 2 hours of drying time in between, but if you let this dry for more than 6 hours, it says to give it a light sanding with a 220 grit sandpaper before applying, or you'll leave streaks with the brush. So there you have it, everyone, your very own deadlift platform. Now I hope that there was enough information in this video for you to buy the materials and build this yourself. Now if you made it through all the way through the video, please comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you like what you see here, please like and subscribe. Now, for what's to come next is I'm waiting for all the equipment I ordered to come in the mail. And then once it comes in the mail, I'm going to do a time lapse of me constructing the whole thing. And then once it's done, I'll make another video with a brief tour of all the items that I bought and my plans from here. So again, thank you so much.